Hello and welcome to another timeless video. Today I'm gonna play a little bit of solitaire. It's not a playstyle that everyone enjoys, but every now and then I'm in the mood for it. And today the deck is built around Paradox Engine and the One Ring, which is kind of the main engine behind the deck, getting to tap the One Ring in Timeless without having to pay the 1 mana, since it's not nerfed like it is in Historic. So we get to draw cards. With Paradox Engine, whenever we cast a spell, we get to untap all non-land permanents we control. So then as long as we keep drawing spells with the One Ring, we can cast them, untap, draw more cards, and we'll often be able to cast a whole bunch of spells for free in this deck, thanks to our cost reduction effects from Semblance Anvil, which can give all our artifacts a 2 mana discount if we imprint one of them, and then there's Cloud Key giving artifacts a 1 mana discount. Sculpting Steel can also copy these mana discount effects, so before you know it we can cast all our spells for free, and then once we assemble the One Ring plus Paradox Engine, or maybe Paradox Engine with a Mystic Forge helping us cast our artifacts off the top, we can very quickly assemble a lethal Storm Count with Aetherflux Reservoir, which will increase the amount of life we gain whenever we cast a spell. And once we have 50 life, or I guess ideally more than 50 life to pay, we can activate it to win the game on the spot. So that's our game plan. Then rounding out the deck, we've got a little bit of extra help from Mox Opal, now available in Timeless, with a lot of cheap artifacts to go with it. So that also informs our decision to run these artifact lands in the mana base. Darksteel Citadel being indestructible makes it the best one of the bunch, as we can run it and not be afraid of a strip mine destroying our land. And we don't need the mana fixing from Great Furnace or Seed of the Synod, but we're still running them because they're untapped artifact lands, enabling Metalcraft on Mox Opal, and they also give the impression that we might be running a typical blue-red affinity deck, which maybe influences the opponent's choices as well during the game. So I think they're still better than just running colorless artifact lands, which also exist, but none of them are indestructible like the Darksteel Citadel. And then we also have the full set of Mind Stone, which simply taps to make a colorless mana. Still good alongside Paradox Engine, because if we're casting spells, we get to untap the Mind Stone each time, generating a mana, so that can also give us a nice mana boost. And at some point, we can also sacrifice it to draw if we're just looking for one specific card. And then we also have a few more of these cycling artifacts, 1 mana to play, and then if we sacrifice them for 1 mana, they give us 1 mana in return, so they really only cost 1 mana to draw a card. And if we can cast them at a discount through Cloud Key or Semblance Anvil, it becomes a free cantrip, which still triggers cards like Paradox Engine and Reservoir, so they also make sense, while also being a cheap artifact to enable Metalcraft on the Mox Opal. So we've got the Chromatic Sphere and Chromatic Star, very similar. Stars maybe slightly better, because if you play it and it gets destroyed while in play, it still draws a card, whereas Sphere only draws if you activate it. And then Lembas is the best version of these 2 mana artifacts that draw a card when they enter, as we also get to scry 1, and then can also be sacrificed to gain 3 life afterwards. And then the mana base, of course, also got a pretty big upgrade with Ancient Tomb tapping for double colorless, which is perfect for a colorless combo deck. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand's a little too fair. No Mox Opal, no Ancient Tomb. And this one has a Semblance Anvil, but only 1 land. Alright, this one I can try. So definitely 1 Mox Opal, 2 lands. And then maybe we go Mind Stone, Paradox Engine. Or we can copy the Mind Stone, so we have more mana to maybe cast a One Ring if we find it. Nah, I think I still keep the engine. Our opponent also took a few mulligans, so could also point towards combo. Well, Meltdown is pretty good against us, so glad to see it go to the graveyard. I maybe shouldn't play my Mox Opal yet if they're gonna Meltdown. Chromatic Star. We can do the same. And then I can still sack the Sphere, can do that at any point. Star is sacrificed. Get the tapped Blood Crypts. Alright, so this turn I can cast my Paradox Engine. And then I'm just looking for a Wandering, basically. Opponent cantrips. And there's a Wandering, perfect, so we can float some mana. Cast Wandering. Untap. Make some more mana. Draw. Cast Cloud Key. Untap. Name artifacts. We get to draw. Chromatic Star will untap. And we're off to the races. Play Semblance Anvil. Pitch a Mox Opal. Or could have pitched One Ring. Doesn't matter too much. I don't think we're fizzling out at this point anymore. But I do need to speed up my plays so I don't time out. So float some more mana. Can just keep drawing with the One Ring. Try and find our reservoir as soon as possible. Still haven't played land yet either. Again, gonna prioritize drawing with the One Ring, and then once we find reservoir, we can unload all the spells we have in hand. Which at this point we can cast for free. And there's a reservoir, so that should close out the game pretty quickly. Just cast whatever spells we have left in hand. Don't even have to float mana here, because everything's free. So a turn 4 kill. Didn't even need our line drop. So we're at 50, so need to cast one more spell to make sure we don't lose the game. And then now we can fire the cannons. And there we go, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand is fine. Nothing busted, no Ancient Tomb or Mox Opal. But we've got some of our key pieces. Bit of Ramp, Semblance Anvil, and then Mystic Forge. Even our Win Condition. There is an argument for holding Chromatic Sphere as something to pitch to Semblance Anvil, but even if I have to pitch the Reservoir, there's a second one in the deck we can find. Alright, Grief. If this is Grief with Reanimate, they can take 2 cards. For now, not sure what they're going for, maybe the Mystic Forge. Nope, goes for Reservoir. Probably my least important card. But they also have Reanimate, so they can take something else. Takes the Anvil, and draw another one, like you do. So I can play Mind Stone, and then could sack the Sphere now. I think I'll wait in case there's more discard effects. Now Barrogoyf, alright, so it's more of a mid-range deck. So besides discard, they may not have a ton of interaction. Alright, so I'll sack the Sphere. And draw the One Ring. So Anvil, pitch, Chromatic Star. Keep my 2 card draw engines. And if we get to untap next turn, we can do some powerful things. And Baragoyf mills 2 cards, no creature. Alright, I think we start with the One Ring, just because it also protects us. Can play Sphere, cycle it, maybe hit a land drop to still play Mystic Forge. And Cloud Key coming up would be a fine draw. Opponent has no good attacks because of the One Ring. And now we're off to the races. Play Cloud Key. Can draw with the One Ring before activating Mystic Forge, since we can play land for turn. And there's Paradox Engine, so that's the final piece of the puzzle here. So we can play it. Sculpting Steel copies probably Cloud Key, so we can discount things even more. And in response to the trigger I could Mystic Forge, but Mindstone's a fine draw. And yeah, I don't think we're fizzling out anymore. So I can start floating mana. Should probably draw with the One Ring. And then we have one win condition left in the deck we need to draw. Double tap Q, can also float our mana. And yeah, our opponent has seen enough, they know what's incoming. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, up against a Lurrus deck. We've got Ancient Tomb, missing a way to discount our artifacts. But I think I still try this. Good Ancient Tomb on 1 in case we draw a second copy, so I can already Mystic Forge. I think I'm gonna save myself the damage and just go Darksteel Citadel into Chromatic Sphere. Also means they can blow up our land with the Strip Mine. But our opponent seems to be kind of on the classic energy deck. Okay, so this turn play Mindstone, and then next turn we can Ancient Tomb. And either play Paradox Engine or Mystic Forge. Could also sack the Chromatic Sphere, in case we draw some other 1-drop I can cast. Since this is not a matchup where I'm afraid of discard effects. They do have the Energy Enchantment that can exile one of our permanents, so that could potentially interfere. They hit a Semblance Anvil, would have been a good draw for us. And Ocelot Pride, not a bad leftover here. So they wouldn't be presenting lethal next turn, but maybe the turn after. So we do need to make the most out of it. If I go for Paradox Engine, I only have Mindstone that really benefits from it, so I think this is more of a Mystic Forge turn. And look for cost reduction effects. So for now, can activate Mystic Forge. And another Ancient Tomb coming up. So that's 4 more damage we would take from our lands. Can I combo next turn? We'll have to get some lucky draws, and yeah, there's the Static Prison I mentioned. So glad I didn't expose the Paradox Engine to it at least. Opponent replays Ragavan. And God of Souls can put counters on the Ocelots. So yeah, we're probably not getting another turn. So we don't know what's on the top of the deck. If I cast Paradox Engine, I have 2 mana left. I can play Lambos and tap Mindstone, but that's about it. So maybe I have to play Mystic Forge or Lambos, draw into another Anvil, for instance, to discount my other artifacts. Yeah, it's still going to be pretty tricky. We're facing 5, 6, 7, 8, plus another 2 from energy. So yeah, I'm not getting another turn, so I have to win now somehow. I guess I can start by cycling the star. Alright, there's Anvil. That's probably something we need. So play Anvil. I'm gonna say pitch Lembas. Play a 2-mana Mystic Forge. Hope there's something useful on top. Can still activate Mystic Forge to get rid of the seed. Lembas I get to play for free. Drawing to Chromatic Sphere, a free cantrip, I guess that's okay. Star on top. So I still don't have a way to cast a Paradox Engine at the moment. Need to cycle some of these stars. Alright, there's a Reservoir. So if I cast Reservoir, I can maybe just survive another attack. Mox Opal is a fine draw. And that lets me cast a Semblance Anvil. Pitch Chromatic Sphere. Play Mystic Forge. Probably should have sacked the Chromatic Sphere in the meantime as well, but yeah, now we're off to the races. Cast Cloud Key, play Paradox Engine, now I start untapping my stuff. And there we go. So yeah, needed a pretty lucky top deck to find the Semblance Anvil. But yeah, that shows the power of this combo deck, even in the face of some interaction. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand's got a lot of mana, a lot of discounts, but we're maybe missing a way to draw cards. So there's a fail rate here for sure, but I'm still gonna keep it, since upside's pretty high. The damage from Ancient Tomb is also gonna add up. Still tempted to play it on turn 1, since that might give us the mana boost we need in the next few turns. And a Thoughtseize at least can take both anvils. Would have been worse if we only had the one card draw engine and they were able to take that one. So it doesn't feel too bad. So I think taking Cloud Key makes some amount of sense, since we can play it for 1 mana after we play a single anvil. Taking Anvil doesn't make much sense when we have Sculpting Steel. So opponent takes an Anvil anyways. Alright, so then I'll stick to the plan. Anvil, pitch, Sculpting Steel, play Cloud Key. Everything has a 3 mana discount now. So whatever we top deck, we can cast. So I may not need to tap Ancient Tomb many more times. Opponent is blue-black. So if they have another discard spell, feel free. Yep. Alright, see double Furnace. Draw Sculpting Steel. May as well cast it, copy the Cloud Key. So now I'm hoping to top deck the One Ring, Mystic Forge, any of our cantrips. But we'll see if our opponent can combo off already. Yep, Show and Tell. So if their last 2 cards are Omniscience plus, let's say, an Atraxa, it's game over. Alright, it's gonna be Saint Elenda instead. So could have been worse. But I did find removal for my Semblance Anvil. Can still cast the Paradox Engine. But yeah, we haven't found the card draw effect I mentioned when we kept the opening hand. And we are facing lethal next turn. Mindstone is a redraw. And the Cloud Key's not gonna save me, sadly. Alright, so didn't quite get there in the end. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand could use a little bit of extra mana from a Mox Opal, Ancient Tomb or Mindstone. Otherwise, this is a pretty good recipe for success. Having Anvil plus the One Ring. Facing a Lurrus deck, so could also face some hand disruption. Alright, there's the Mind Stone. Can play that next turn. And that might make it easier to deploy the rest of my hand. Opponent fetches a Theater to surveil. So red-black. Make that Mardu. Could still be an energy deck, as we see a Jani. Alright, play Mind Stone. Can sack the Chromatic Star as well. Should probably be floating red mana to reinforce the idea that we're a typical blue-red affinity deck. So next turn can play Anvil. Hope they can't remove it with their enchantments. Take 3. And Ajani does not transform just yet. So if I go Anvil, I can still play Cloud Key afterwards. If they remove the Anvil, I would be pretty sad. But I guess we have some card draw to hopefully recover. Opponent could respond with maybe an Orcish Bowmasters, which I guess is good in the face of our One Ring. But if we can combo the same turn where we cast the One Ring, then they can't target us with the Bowmaster's ability at least. And there it is. And then eventually, once we find our win condition, we can make up for potential life loss. Ocelot Pride hasn't gained life this turn. And we find Lembas, which would trigger the Bowmasters. But I could play the One Ring first. Yeah, let's start there. Should also play Mystic Forge before playing Lembas, so we can more easily manipulate the top of our deck. Play a free Chromatic Star. Free Mind Stone. And then play a Lembas off the top. And Paradox Engine is what we were looking for. So we should be able to combo off now pretty easily. Bowmasters can't target me because of the One Ring, so it's gonna take out their own creature to transform a Jani. Fair enough. Play Paradox Engine. Double tap Q to float mana. Can activate the One Ring now. And our opponent's gonna have to keep track of their Bowmasters. And yeah, our opponent has seen enough, they know we can pretty easily combo from here. Okay, we're on the play. Hand seems functional. Still need some of our bigger artifacts at some point. But for now, Sphere into Mox Opal, Metalcraft is enabled. So I don't think I sack the Sphere just yet. Opponent surveils out of black-white. So could still be a lot of different decks. I think my plan is to first sack Sphere. With artifact lands we still have Metalcraft. And then I can maybe play the Cloud Key afterwards. Could also keep the Sphere in play. Can maybe get punished by an Orcish Bowmasters if they're running it. Although they seem to be more of a combo deck than kind of an energy mid-range deck that would run the Bowmasters. Because if we draw with a Sphere and we draw into, let's say, the One Ring, it would hurt a lot more if our opponent makes us discard. So the Surveil decision is a pretty difficult one, apparently. Or the opponent timed out. Okay. Mind Stone's not bad either. Still leaning Cloud Key for now. And then next turn we can maybe copy the Cloud Key and start casting our 2-drops for free. Godless Shrine untapped. And an Emperor of Bones, so it's a Reanimator combo deck, presumably. Okay, so step 1, Sculpting Steel. Copy Cloud Key. Lembas. Find another Cloud Key. It's not bad, but it's not quite the card draw engine I need. Although with triple Cloud Key, it's going to be a lot harder to fizzle once I do find those card draw effects. So I can sack the Sphere. Play Reservoir. And then still have a Mind Stone left over. So we're at 25, but our opponent can maybe combo with an Ulamog here. Make us sacrifice 6 permanents or however many. But we're perfectly set up to maybe combo if we draw some of our bigger card draw engines. So another reanimation creature, but they're missing the payoff in the graveyard. Alright, so can start with Lembas. Mystic Forge is exactly what we needed. Cast it for 1 mana. And yeah, our opponent knows what's happening here. Can cast our artifacts for pretty much free, keep cycling them, have some redraws built into our Mind Stone, and Lembas can also shuffle. So that'll make it so we are unlikely to fizzle out from here. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand has maybe a bit too much in the card draw department and maybe not enough in the mana department. So I think this is a mulligan, especially on the draw. This is a little bit more balanced. So one of the spheres or stars can go. I guess the star is a little bit better, since if it gets destroyed while in play, we still draw a card. There are some very subtle differences, but yeah, I don't think they're going to matter too much. Opponent does have a Grief, so that likely takes Mox Opal or a Mystic Forge. And they might reanimate the Grief to do it a second time. So that always hurts, especially if you're already on a mulligan. Right, it's going to be a Deathrite Shaman instead. A One Ring's a good draw. But yeah, now without Mox Opal, we're down a pretty important mana source. Opponent's not doing much, at least. And I can still Lembas and look for a third land. I'll take a Citadel. Now Chromox. Pitching Shieldred, which is pretty good against us, so glad to see that gone. But they might have another one in hand they can cast. For now, just a Barrow-Goyf. Alright, Cloud Key's a good draw. Play that. Take 3. So we're not under too much pressure, at least. Opponent does find another Deathrite. and mills a land so the Deathrite can make more mana. Okay, so I could Sculpting Steel, copy Cloud Key, play another one for 1 mana, copy it again. Or I could just play the One Ring right now. Alright, opponent scoops it up, fair enough, so... yeah, we definitely had some solid options here. Just looking at my hand again. Yeah, if we just have triple Cloud Key, I can still play Lembas, and then with a 3 mana discount, it should be pretty trivial to combo on the following turn between Mystic Forge and the One Ring. Barrogoyf hitting us one more time probably doesn't matter too much, but yeah, again, my main concern would be our opponent being able to cast a Shieldred, which if the Barrogoyf mills another land with double Deathrites and then the Chromox, they would be able to cast a Shieldred pretty easily. And then once Shieldred's in play, the One Ring doesn't really protect against the Shieldred's ability since it doesn't target. So then we would need to find our reservoir before Shieldred drains us to death. So that could have been a tricky balance. Whereas if we play the One Ring first, Barrogoyf doesn't get to hit us, doesn't get to mill, and then they might have a harder time casting Shieldred even if they have one in hand. So that was the main consideration here. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. We've got good mana and a lot of cantrips, so this hand is going to change a lot in the first few turns. I think given the Mox Opal and Ancient Tomb, I'm willing to try this. Opponent on Citadel. So if I Ancient Tomb, double Sphere, I can still Mox Opal, play Star. And get all these trinkets in play. Could also sack a Sphere now, and then play Star. Maybe that's better. Could again sack, but I guess we want to keep Metalcraft enabled as well. So we still haven't drawn anything substantial. Opponent with a Bauble. So they might be on a more traditional affinity deck. Baubles me. Alright, so they're still not doing much. Find Reservoir, which I guess I could cast already. Yeah, maybe that's worthwhile. Since we might gain some life off of casting these trinkets. Although generally speaking, Reservoir's not a card I'm trying to rush onto the battlefield. I would much rather get the discount artifacts first, get some card draw going, and then at some point we stumble into the Reservoir to win the game. So our opponents could technically cast a counterspell thanks to the Mox Opal, so we need to keep that in mind as well. Find an Anvil. So let's see. If I cast Anvil, I guess I can still counter unless we pay 3, but at least I won't have pitched anything to imprint. Could have maybe played Mox Opal first, but that's the card I wanted to pitch to the imprint, so yeah, opponent had the Metallic Rebuke, not too surprising. Then we'll just play Lembas and look for another good card. Don't need more lanes. Okay, I don't think I waste Mox Opal, even though it triggers Reservoir again. I mean, maybe it is worth it. We've already cast a decent amount of spells. Okay, I mean, we are definitely flooding here. The fact that our Anvil got countered didn't even matter all that much. Right, Paradox Engine helps, although it's still not really the card we need. And that's another land. So I've got my Paradox Engine, my Reservoir, just missing the One Ring. Luckily our opponent's not doing much, so we have time to draw out of it. Can also sack Lambos, gain 3, shuffle. Not incredibly helpful. Alright, there's Emissary, so now we're maybe going to see some fireworks. Emery can get back a Mox Opal, make some 1/1s. They've got double Emissary. So their board is gonna get out of hand pretty quickly. Goes for Springleaf Drum. I guess they already had a Mox Opal in place, so that makes sense. They might have some affinity card draw spells, or Cannoneer can also end the game pretty quickly. Emissaries go away. And that's a Mind Stone. So make sure to tap the Mox Opal, since we'll get to untap it. Is there a point in sacking a Lambos here? I guess Lambos wouldn't be a terrible draw. If we shuffle it back. And mana is probably not going to be a huge constraint, but I might be wrong. Because yeah, I guess I am sacking Mind Stone here. Alright, fine, Mystic Forge. Now I'm a little bit short of casting it, but we should get another turn. And then next turn with Mystic Forge, we can make something happen. Just have to watch out for another counterspell. Yeah, maybe sacking Lambos was not quite the move, since I still don't have any actual artifact discounts in play. Sure, I get to untap Mox Opal with Engine, but it's only 1 mana each time. Emery can still get back a Mox Opal, which could still represent another Metallic Rebuke, although they've already milled 2. Opponent's just gonna keep going. But I don't think they're quite getting to 27 damage right now. But they're definitely gonna have lethal next turn. So as long as their last card is not a counterspell, we don't really care. Alright, another Mox Opal. Not the best draw, but it is another untap with Paradox Engine. Can also pay for Metallic Rebuke right now. Lambos, I get to cast. Mind Stone is good with Paradox Engine, so I'll happily draw that. Can also maybe gain enough life with Reservoir to survive another attack, but I don't want to count on it. And we'll get rid of the Furnace here, since we get to untap Forge again with Engine. So now we can draw the Reservoir. And I guess I hadn't played land yet. Cast another Reservoir. And then I still have 1 untap with Mox Opal. 1 ring I'm not going to be able to cast. Maybe should have been pickier instead of keeping the Reservoir, try and cast a 1 ring. Although I guess we can still cast it here actually with the extra Mox Opal untapping. So that should keep us alive for an extra turn. Because yeah, we can float mana, play Mox Opal, untap. Play 1 ring, and then with a 1 ring we should be safe for another turn. Another 1 ring coming up, not the worst draw. And our opponent scoops it up, so maybe it took a little bit to get set up here. The counterspell on Anvil maybe could have been prevented as well. But once we found our Mystic Forge, we got to grease the wheel, and the engine got going. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. Our hand's pretty mediocre without Mox Opal or Ancient Tomb. Still have Mind Stone into Cloud Key on the play, maybe that's good enough. And with Lambos we get to Scry, so that can maybe find our missing pieces. Opponent seems to have one of the free spells in hand, Once Upon a Time. Finds Strip Mine, alright, so we're in for some land destruction. Sadly didn't open with Darksteel Citadel, which is indestructible. So we'll cycle the Sphere. And there's a Citadel. So next turn we can still maybe Mindstone. So our opponent's likely trying to get back Strip Mine from the graveyard, so they can loop it. So the sooner we get our cost reduction in play, the better. Although now Thoughtseize can take Mindstone. No, goes for Cloud Key. That's fine. So play Mindstone, can sack Star, play Sphere. May not get a chance to cast a One Ring, we'll see. But at least between Citadel and Mindstone we have 2 mana sources that they can't easily interact with. Reclaimer, another way to get Strip Mine. So Lembas could also sack Sphere first. Sure. Maybe informs our decision on what to do with his Scry. Alright, Anvil is perfect. Play it, pitch Lembas. Can still cast one. Try and hit our land drop. And Ancient Tomb is a pretty good land drop. If they want to blow that up next turn, that's fine by me. We've gotten our value. And now between One Ring and Paradox Engine, we're off to the races. Should draw now, because we might find more spells we can cast. And I'm protected from discard spells. See the Hierarch, a recent addition through the Anthology expansion as well. Sadly did not get Noble Hierarch to go with it. A Reclaimer, sack a land. Doesn't enter tapped, so they don't get to Strip Mine me right now. But yeah, her opponent's in trouble. So, start by drawing with a ring. Play Paradox Engine. And then now cast probably Reservoir first, or maybe Mystic Forge makes more sense. We get to untap Mindstone and the One Ring, and yeah, her opponent knows that they're dead. At some point cast Reservoir, and then we get to draw as many cards as we want, cast as many spells as needed, and deal 50 damage to win the game. Awesome! So yeah, overall, if you want to play Solitaire in Timeless, this is a pretty good choice. The deck seems to win more than it loses, and yeah, once you get the hang of it, it can be quite satisfying to get the sequencing down. So it's definitely a single-player experience, so if you're looking for a lot of interaction, this may not be the deck for you, but sometimes you're just in the mood to cast lots of artifacts, draw lots of cards, and combo some people to death. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.